I know you're using AI all over the place in your business. It's all the craze. But today we're going to talk about how to use AI tools for your business without becoming dependent on them. Because yes, you can have too much of a good thing. Let's get it. Welcome to another weekly marketing mastermind with Coach D, where solopreneurs and small business owners just like you learn how to market smart, build simple systems, and grow without the tech overwhelm. I'm Coach D, and every week I show you how to take action, make progress, and build a business that works for you, not the other way around. So hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, baby, and follow along as we work smarter, not harder. Let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? We're back for another weekly mastermind. All right, so today I wanted to talk about something that I encountered, and we're going to talk about how you can use AI tools for your business without becoming a slave to them. And what happens a lot of times is, we get excited about using tools like ChatGPT, for example, and there's tons of other ones out there, Gemini and so forth, that we can use these different tools and even systems for our business. One of the systems that we use is the HBA Funnel Builder is a system that we use. Some of you guys may use systems to collect reviews. There's different tools out there that we use to be able to help us increase in our business. But one of the things that we run into is that we're so busy trying to use all of the systems to automate everything in our business, right? That we run into an issue when something doesn't work, when something is broken. It's like we're taught like this, set it and forget it. Like, oh, you set it up once, you forget it, don't worry about it. Everything's going to be good. You're going to make all this money, right? People said, yeah, I want a system that I can set it and forget it. That's actually a myth, okay? All right, like, it's not a myth, it's a lie, okay? It's like this. You can set a system up. You can use AI tools to, run your business, right? Do certain things in your business. But what do you do when those tools break, when they're malfunctioning? When the output, let's say you're using ChatGPT, for example, because a lot of us use it to get ideas, whether it be YouTube ideas, Facebook ideas, create content, emails, all those different things that we use it for, right? But what happens when that system goes down, a system breaks, and you're relying on them? You really become a slave to them. Let me give you guys an example. Like, this is something that happened today, right? And it kind of prompted me to want to do this training for you guys. Okay. So I definitely use ChatGPT for a lot of different things, because it makes a lot of the content creation, it makes it faster. So, I have certain, I've trained the ChatGPT little model or whatever that I use. I've trained it to have a better understanding of my voice, right? So it's not so robotic and all of these things, right? And it can remember a good amount of tasks that I do, right? So I could just put in some information. It's like, oh yeah, Coach D, do you want me? It actually calls me by name, right? Coach D, do you want me to go ahead and do this same thing that we did with the other one, right? So it makes it easier. So I was using it recently, and I noticed they had an update, right? Some type of update that they did, right? And I'm like, man, this output is not what it used to be. It's not as good as it was. I'm like, what in the world is happening, right? And so it got me to thinking, what if the way that you were creating your, for example, because I know a lot of us use it for content, what if the only way that you were making your Facebook posts, right, for example, for your business is you were relying on ChatGPT to make those Facebook posts, right? Because ChatGPT knows about the curiosity hook, to build curiosity for people to actually click on your video or click on, your link that you have. And then it starts to malfunction. It's not working properly. What are you going to do? Now, first, you're going to be like, well, I'm going to just write my own post. Then this is what you're going to be stuck with. Well, do you know how to write a curiosity hook, right? So that it prompts a person to want to read your Facebook post or watch your video. Do you know how to do that? right? If you're using it to create descriptions for your YouTube videos, for example, right? Because it can pump them out a lot faster, right? You give it the right information, right? And it can pump out those descriptions a lot faster than I can type them out. But when it malfunctions, I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, what is this going on? So it made me be grateful that I actually know how to do the thing. So in this case, we're talking about, my marketing business. So what if I didn't have YouTube training that I've, paid for, gone through multiple times and everything and got better at, that taught me how to write descriptions for a YouTube video, how to do YouTube videos, how to come up with the title, how to do the keyword research, because you know that ChatGPT and some of these other models will help us do that in our business. They will help us create these keywords as well, right? Cool. But what happens when it doesn't work? When the system malfunctions like it started doing, and it breaks. Well, if you're in a position where you're relying on these tools, these AI tools or regular tools or systems to do the work, and you don't know what it is about your business, like you don't know how to do the thing, like you literally don't know, you have very minimal amount of clue, you will become a slave to that system. And I'm going to break it down a little bit deeper. Now, this is something that I talked about with one of my colleagues, right? I actually, it's crazy, man, because I actually was talking to her um, before the system started malfunctioning. I was talking to her. I said, I know what they're going to do. I said, they're trying to get people hooked onto using these different AI tools. And at the time, we were talking about ChatGPT. So they're trying to get people hooked. I said, what's going to happen is people are going to start not using their intellect. They're going to start not using their creativity, right? They're going to start just basically being a slave, humdrumming it along, right? It's like if you're just walking off a cliff, right? And everybody just walking straight. Then somebody can guide you off a cliff because you're not paying attention, because you're not thinking for yourself, right? And that is because we know the positives of using the AI tools in different systems in our business. We know the positives. It helps us save time. It helps us come up with ideas. We know the positives, right? But do you ever think about the cons? And I don't mean think about the cons in the sense of, oh, well, that's why I don't use it, blah, blah, blah. No, there's definitely a place for it. What I'm saying is you want to use things with eyes wide open. You want to use these AI tools and systems for your business with eyes wide open. And so I was telling her, I said, sis, I know what they're going to do. I said, they're going to get us hooked on it, and then people are going to stop using their brain, stop using their reasoning abilities that we were born with, right? And people are going to be, stuck. People aren't going to know what to do, how to move to the left, how to move to the right, and shake and move in their business when those things don't work, because they will have tried to skip the process of learning how to do the thing, right? If you try to skip the process of, and I'm mentioning YouTube because you guys know I really like marketing on YouTube. I like doing YouTube videos and stuff like that. And there's a process to it, right? But it could be said for any business at all, man. It's like if you don't know how to do the thing, and then the thing that was doing the thing breaks because you was relying on it, then what are you really left with? What are you going to be left with? You're going to be left with a business that's stagnant, a business that, oh man, I can't move forward because I don't know how to. Check this out. Here's something even before the AI craze, right? Before that, in our business, I'll give you an example. I was running an auto repair shop some years back, right? And we had a system to where when a person gets a quote, we put the information into the system, right, into the computer, right? We put the information in with the year, make, and model and all of that stuff, right? Cool, wonderful, right? And it'll let us know how much to charge, right? It had a labor guide inside of that system. It'll let us know how much to charge and everything. So what happens when your computer breaks? And that happens. Like, it literally happened to me. Like, you're like, man, I don't know what the hell's going on. I got the big blue screen. What the fuck, right? You're like, what the hell's going on, right? Well, if you don't, as a business owner, At that time, when my computer crashed on me, and I had to, wait for my friend to come over and who, specialize in computers so that they could fix it, right? But in the meantime, I had a business to run. So if I didn't understand how to come up with labor time, meaning how much to charge people, if I didn't understand how to work on cars and figure out how long something would take, if I didn't understand, right, how another way that I could get that labor guide that wasn't online, because at the time, this was some years back, at the time, there was actually one that was in print as well. It was a big book like this, right? Big book. A labor guide. It was like green at the time, at least the one I had, right? But if you didn't understand how to work without those things, temporarily at least, then it would have been like, oh, well, I can't give you a quote, Miss Johnson, on how much it's going to cost to fix your alternator. I can't give you a quote because this computer went down and the computer has that system on it. Miss Johnson's going to be like, all right, well, let me take my car elsewhere and give them my money then. Because I need my car fixed. You understand? It's like, it's really, it's like, it sounds, crazy, because you would just think automatically, oh, well, I'm not worried about that because that's not going to happen. Okay, you're lying to yourself. Or you're like, oh, I'm not worried about that because, I'll learn it at some point. Nah, bro. And I'm not talking to the people who have, multi-million-dollar corporations and you have, people to do what I'm talking about. Right? Meaning you already have hired people who, if the computer breaks down or the system stopped working, they know how to jump in and make the thing still go. Right? You hired those people. You have multi-billion-dollar corporations. I'm talking about small business owners like myself. Right? Well, maybe you have one employee, maybe you have none. Okay? Especially if you're running an online business, 9 times out of 10, you don't have any employees. Some people do. Don't get me wrong. Right? But a lot of times you outsource things. Right? So I was like, yo, this thing is, ChatGPT start acting up. And I was like, man, it just made me realize, like, yo, you can't depend on something else to be working 100%. Even down to when we use these tools, right? And even down, like, at the bottom of ChatGPT, it'll be like, ChatGPT basically telling you sometimes it can get its information incorrect. Right? It'll tell you that at the bottom. It'll say sometimes it's incorrect, right? But people like take it as people. I've seen this. People have started to take it as gospel. I had a customer call me about on my junk car business, right? Because y'all know I got 2 businesses: a online business, which is the marketing, which is what we're doing now, and an offline business, which is my car recycling. I had her call me on my car recycling business, and she was asking me. She was like, I have this car I want to get rid of, and I wanted to find out, the process and everything. So I was explaining to her the process. She said, yeah, because I was looking on ChatGPT and it said I needed to do XYZ, right? And I explained to her, I said, in some cases, yes, but in this case, no, you don't need to do XYZ. So what's happening is people are relying on that AI tool to give them correct information, even though it tells you that the information may be incorrect, right? It's relying on that to be accurate and working proper. Nah, gonna mess yourself up doing that. And I'm gonna take it even deeper, man. I'm about to go real deep with y'all, man. And you might call me a conspiracy theorist. I don't care what you call it, but that's what some people will call it. I don't care what you call it. This is the deal, man. If humans can program the AI tools that we use, right? And humans are the ones programming it, okay? The humans could put in the information to make it be what it wants to be, to make it be whatever they, say they want it to be at that time, right? So it can spew out information that's incorrect, and it can do it on purpose. Think here. Think for a minute, guys. Think for a minute. It can be on purpose. So here you are relying on these different AI tools to do the things proper, to do the things correctly, to the best benefit of you. But when they malfunction, it's not just a matter of, oh, the system's down. It could be a matter of that output isn't right anymore. That don't sound right for my industry. That doesn't sound right for the type of title I should use for that video. That doesn't sound right for the steps that I should take to create this thing in my business. You understand what I'm saying? right? Because we're not the ones plugging the information in. We don't own it, right? We don't own it. So you got to understand that using these tools, use them as a tool, not as the end all be all, because they could, the same way they were given to us, meaning, when the thing kind of blew up, it's like, oh, everybody's using ChatGPT, everybody's using Claude and Gemini and, all these things. Everybody's using these things. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're like, yeah, yeah, rah, 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 right? But the same way it's been out there for us to use, right? It can be taken away in the sense of things could get shut down, or things could start not working properly and giving out incorrect information. So how are you going to make sure that your business still runs? I mean, so I'm up there, doing my regimen that I do for YouTube, because I got a bunch of videos that I created that I need to go ahead and get the descriptions in there and everything. So that way, as I'm pushing out my videos, I want to get up. Right now I'm doing 3 a week, but I want to get up to 5 a week, right? So that means I have to do videos ahead of time. You feel me? Well, not going to say I have to, but I do, because I run 2 businesses. That's what works for me. I'll put it that way, right? And so as I'm doing that and everything, that tool, it helps me. ChatGPT helps me do some of the things faster. But if I had to rely on that thing, and that thing, starts spewing out incorrect information, or starts spitting out information slow, or it just crashes, or they're just like, oh, it's unavailable and we don't know when it's going to be back, right? Type situation. And that goes for any of these tools. And if I don't actually know how to build a YouTube channel, if I don't actually know how to come up with, descriptions and keywords and things of that nature, then what am I going to do? Then what is my marketing business? My marketing business is literally centered around me giving content. As you see me here, giving content, right? Helping people with things that I have learned, that I'm going through, that I've went through and accomplished, and on my way to accomplishing all these things, and things that I tried and they didn't work out, right? Some people call them failures. I don't care what you call them. You know what I mean? Because I'm not afraid of failure. I don't care, right? I'm going to do it. But the point is, it's like, if I didn't know about the things of my business, if I don't know how to do the thing, right, then I'm not gonna know what to do when these AI tools don't work no more. Even down to this, guys. Think about it like this. I'm gonna put it in another term for you. Another viewpoint for you. Let's say you want to own so when I started my repair shop, right? Let's look at it like that. This is a real world example of what I'm saying. And this is some shit I went through. This is some shit I went through now. Okay, I'm about to tell you some stuff I went through and how I had to maneuver. So I got into the automotive industry initially because you had some mechanics, not all of them, but some mechanics trying to take advantage of females when it comes to cars and stuff. And I found myself in a position where, somebody tried to get over on me, right? Because something that I was like, I was driving my car and I heard a squeaking noise, right? And I didn't know what it was. I'm not a mechanic, shit, at that time, and I pulled over to a spot. It was a repair shop in Durham. It was in Durham. I don't know if that shop's still there, but too bad if they is, bro. I know some of y'all got some fucked up cars. But anyway, so I pulled over and I came to a stop, and I put the car in park. So it was still running, but I put the car in park. And I said, sir, I heard a squeaking noise. Could you tell me, what that is and how much it'll be to fix it? Because I don't know about cars. I'm like, yo, I don't know if this shit about to blow up or what. The fella, he was an older gentleman at that time. He was a much older gentleman. Came over, he listened, and then the squeak happened. He said, oh yeah, that's your brakes. I'm like, my brakes, that noise right there. He like, yeah. Now, mind you, I'm not a mechanic. However, I just told you I was in park, bro. Right? I was in park. In park, I'm not using my brakes in park. Right? But the car was still running. Okay? Now, I didn't, I wound up going to another mechanic because I understood that brake means even the word brake, like to take a break, to stop. Right? So I'm like, if brake means stop, to take a break and stop, and I'm stopped, then I'm not doing anything with my brakes. So how my brakes making noise, bro? Like it sound real suspicious to me. So I went somewhere else and to another shop in the same city and everything. Lo and behold, it was a belt. Because like I told you, I had came to a stop. I mean, I put it in park and I heard the chirping noise, right? Or the squeaking noise. Right, I said it was a squeaky noise at the time. I said it was a squeaky noise. That's how I could describe it at the time, not knowing the terms. It was a belt. Okay, so they fixed it. We good. Point is, bro. Point is, that's why I started getting into the automotive business to begin with, because it's like, damn, bro. It's like that's how you gonna do me. That's how you gonna do. You just gonna lie like that, man. Whatever. You know what I mean? So that's how I got into it. But so I got into it, and it was haphazard, so to speak, right? I'm like, all right, I bet this dude. I'm like, hey, I want to learn to work on cars. You know, he was a mobile mechanic, and he was doing some work for me. I was like, hey, can I learn? He's like, yeah, show up with some dirty clothes on or whatever, because if you're not working on cars, you probably stay clean all the time. Okay. You know what I mean? If you're not in the automotive field, period, you probably stay clean all the time. All right. So I'm like, all right, cool. So fast forward a little bit. I saw that I was going to be interested in it. It seemed interesting. I liked it. Work with my hands, trying to figure some things out or whatever, figure out what's going on with the cars. I was like, cool. So I went to school for it. Now, as I'm going to school, I'm still working, right? So fast forward a little bit more, it came an opportunity to get a shop, a building. Right now, I'm still learning. But the dude I was working with at the time, the one who was teaching me or whatever, he knew how to do a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? He that was his profession. I was like, all right, cool. So I told him about the shop. He was like, yeah, we could get the shop, we could get together, blah 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 or whatever. I didn't know that was the first mistake. Shit, I was, what I mean, whatever. All right, cool. Anyway, we get a shot. Some things happen. I know the dude had fell back on drugs. Shit happens. You know what I mean? Anyway, I'm like, oh, this mug, right? So I wind up having a shop myself because I find out you doing drugs, bro. This partnership over with. Shit, I don't do no damn drug. So anyway, so what it wind up putting me in position of, I just told you I was still learning. I was still going to school. I was still learning, and I had a whole shop. I had them pay the deposit and everything, right? Because we were supposed to. Once again, these are things you learn. I was much younger. These are things you learn, right? We didn't go half. Right? He was like, "Oh, you put it up and we'll get it back when we start making some money." I'm like, "All right, cool," because I was like really interested in, when I'm interested in something, I'm gonna go get it, right? And that's in any type of business that I do, I'm gonna go get it, right? I'm like, whatever needs to be done, cool, let's go. Okay. So anyway, I'm in the shop and now by myself, and I'm still learning, right? So when it came to customers like, oh, can you do this? Can you do that? Or whatever, whatever. I had to go get people to help me do the thing, right? To help me do the job. So my point is that initially when I got into it, I was relying on his skill set because he was the main mechanic. I was still learning under him. So when he was no longer there, right? So that means while he was there, I was a slave to him in a sense. In a sense of, if that dude don't show up, to the shop that day, and I'm there by myself, work gonna be slow as hell because I only knew how to do a few things. And I would only tackle things that I felt like I could get complete. You know what I'm saying? You don't be up there taking on way more stuff or way more complicated things that's like totally out your, you do go out your comfort zone, but totally out your wheelhouse, you don't do, because you dealing with some valuable stuff, you dealing with people's cars. So I didn't even realize, like I said, I was younger, I didn't realize those things at that time, that even though he's not an AI tool, of course, right? But that was something that I was dependent upon. I was dependent upon his skill set when I opened that first shop. So when he wasn't there no more, it's just me. We went from, let's say this is major skill set, right? Major skill set down to not major skill set, right? So, that was like the beginning of me learning you don't rely on. So fast forward, okay, to the last repair shop I owned, because I, got another shop after that. I mean, some years went in between, probably like maybe 15 years in between, right? In between the process, I'm saying. The last shop I was at that I owned, I was a head mechanic for a while, right? Because, people will come in, they were like, they want a job, this, that, and the third, you know what I'm saying? But now that you know how to do some things and everything, and you have some more standards, you're not taking anybody. So the last shop I had, I wound up hiring a fella. He was an older gentleman and everything. He was great. He knew how to do a lot of things. But now the difference was I also knew how to do a lot of things. I knew how to change engines. I knew how to do replace transmissions. I knew how to diagnose check engine lights. I knew how to diagnose electrical. So while he was there, cool. He did the majority of the work, right? Because he got paid on commission. So the more work he did, the more he got paid, right? So he did the majority of the work. But the difference is between the first situation where that guy did the majority of the work. All right, now I did a lot of the physical work in the first situation because I was just like, all right, what I do next type situation. But, where that guy, I relied on him the most, right? And in the second situation with the last shop I had, all right, once I got, like I said, this is about 10, 15 years span in between. The difference is in his last situation, if that fella had to go to the doctor's appointment or something like this, he was very reliable. But, people have doctor's appointments. He was older, man. He got to do what he got to do, right? No problem. My business did not stop a beat. Didn't stop a beat because I could step right in. Boom. No problem. Knock that out, whatever it is, knock it out, whatever it is, knock it out, whatever it is, and it would not stop a beat because I knew how to fix the cars just like he knew how to fix the cars. Whereas the first time I didn't know. So I was a slave to the situation, right? Now, some people probably would have been like, oh, I would have put up with, the first guy in the first situation because he know how to fix cars and you don't, you know very little. Well, yeah, when it comes to drugs, man, I'm not putting up with nothing. You know what I'm saying? That's just what it is. I mean, I'm a reasonable person, but I'm not reasonable in that. For one, shit's illegal. Okay, we can begin and start there. We can start and end there. All right. And number two, you be inebriated and you can hurt yourself, working under the influence and stuff. But the point of the matter is I wanted to show you like a real world example of why when I thought of this again, why I wanted to bring this to you guys about how do you actually use the AI tools and systems for your business without becoming a slave to them. You'll use them, how you do it, you'll use them as a tool, right? Don't let it, get you away from actually knowing how to do the thing. Like knowledge is going to beat out your tools and systems, right? Because they can fail. And the only way I know of your knowledge failing is like if you get amnesia, I mean, yeah, a coma or something, then that would be sad. And then, but you might don't remember how to do stuff, but then you're probably not running a business anyway. I'm just saying, right? Now, but you use them together. So don't think I'm saying that, oh, because you know this stuff that you should do it all yourself. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. I don't do everything in my business myself, right? I outsource in both of my businesses. I outsource to different people, but I know how to do everything that I'm outsourcing. I know how. So that way, if that person who is handling that part of the business, if they don't show up or they start being unreliable or whatever the case may be, and I need to step in until I find a replacement, I could step in and my business will not fold while I'm stepping in because I know how to do the thing. That's the difference. Do you know how to do the thing? Whatever it is that you're using your AI tool for. If you're using it for helping you create content, helping you create even images, maybe you're using it to help you create images. Do you have some knowledge behind you on how to actually get her done in your business without that tool? It doesn't mean don't use it. Do you know how to navigate without it though? Because if you don't know how to navigate without that AI tool in your business, then you're going to be a slave to it. And when you are a slave to something, that means somebody or a organization or whatever can control you. Say, hey, we're going to take this away for a day or two. What you going to do about it? What you going to do about it? Kind of dangle it away, right? Or they can say, hey, it's $20 a month, but we're going to make it $500 a month. What you going to do? Because now you're dependent on it. But you wasn't, you know what I'm saying, at the stage in your business where you can go from $20 a month to $500 a month in a, in one fell swoop. You're like, shit, man, that's a big jump right there. You know what I'm saying? But If you are a slave to that tool, then whoever owns that tool will control you. You understand? Because it limits your moves if you don't have the knowledge behind it, right? And it's like one of the things that I've noticed, and I'm speaking from my experience, that helps me be able to, for one, do two businesses, right? Excuse me. And has allowed me to be an entrepreneur for as many years as I've been an entrepreneur, right? I mean, it's probably been, oh, man, it's probably been a fortnight, like 20, it's probably been like 20 years or so, right? And when I say an entrepreneur, I mean a full-time entrepreneur, right? Not, working a job anywhere, right? One of the things that I've learned is that what has allowed me to do that is continuing to learn things, continuing to learn something, right? And it's continuing to learn. It's one, and using tools. That's two things. Learning and using tools, not forgetting about the learning and only using a tool. No, learning and using tools. Learning how the system, how to work whatever system it is, learning, the concept of it. Excuse me. Right? And adding on the tools to help me do it faster. Like even when I was working in the shop, right? When we was learning in school, we was learning, like, for example, we was learning the starting system, right? And just the electrical part of it, and the basic part of it, which is the starter, right? We was learning how to check a starter to see if it was, bad or good or whatever, how you check it on the car, like, see the symptoms and stuff, right? Now, when you first learning, like out in the street, you're probably not using a whole bunch of tools, I'm gonna be real with you, man. A lot of them folks using hammers, and there are probably people right now still using a hammer to check a starter. Oh, you tap it. Yeah, man, it starts up. Oh, yeah, man, it starts back, right? Yeah, that ain't how you do it. But the point of the matter is, right, you learn the concept of the power. You gotta have enough, you have to have enough juice at the battery, enough voltage. We just gonna call it juice. We don't gotta get technical. Your battery gotta be strong enough, right, to send the current down to the starter, right? You got the power going from the switch down to the starter. And I'm using and when I'm saying this, I'm not talking about the 2025s and so on. Okay, so because that's a different situation. But the point of the matter is I had to understand the concepts. And then when I went to school, because remember I started learning before I went to school. Okay, I went to school because I had to pay to go to school. Like I had to pay out of pocket. I didn't have a scholarship or nothing like that, or no Pell Grants or nothing. I paid out of pocket to go to school. So I wanted to make sure I was going to be interested in it before I, you know what I mean? So I paid out of pocket to go to school. So when I went to school, that's when we learned about using the voltmeter, proper, using the tools, right? So I was understanding the concept and the knowledge, and then I paired that with the tool. So then that tool made it easier for me to get down to the diagnosis of, is this starter really bad? Seeing, does it actually have, the proper current going to it in amps and everything? Is that accurate? If it's not, then I got to back it on up. Could be up in the cables or something, you know what I'm saying? But the point of the matter is I married the two, and that made it better. That made it easier for me to run my business. Now I could get to the actual diagnosis of a person's car faster, right? And more accurate, because that's even more powerful than being fast, to be honest. Accuracy, right? Because I married the two. So that's what I learned in business. You marry the two. You understand how to do the thing, and then you add on the systems or tools, right? In that case, an example, if I told you about learning to diagnose a starter, was a tool, right? For example, in the marketing space, let's say ChatGPT is your tool that you use to create content. So what's the knowledge part? You learn, how do I attract the right people, to my Facebook, if you're marketing on Facebook. How do I write a good hook that's going to get people to say, oh man, that looks interesting, like a curiosity hook. That looks interesting. Let me click on that thing, right? Let me watch that. How do I engage with people? While I'm on the video, what goes into the content of the video? What am I going to be talking about? Right? So you understand these things, right? Then you add the tool to it. The tool, for example, Zoom is a tool. I'm using, Zoom is a tool. But what would I do because Zoom is just one tool, right? But what would I do if I didn't have Zoom? I would just do a Facebook Live. I'm just saying, for example, because I'm using it through Zoom, but you can do a live through Facebook itself. You don't have to use Zoom. I'm just saying, like, understanding, that a tool is a tool. Use the tool. Don't let the tool use you, meaning you become a slave to the tool, right? And when we're dealing with ChatGPT, like, use it as a tool, but don't let it start using you and you just start blindly following whatever ChatGPT says must be true. No, bro. Okay, real quick. I asked it something the other day. I asked it something about basketball. I said, I said, name all the players that's taller than 6'7" or 6'7" or above in the league, right? In the WNBA. It gave me a list of players, but there was a few I didn't recognize, but that I don't know all the names of the players. I'm like, so I took that name and I went and searched it real quick, right? And it's like, oh, this person played at such such. So I then went to another website, that WNBA website, to find that player. And sure enough, their player was not active anymore. So I go back to ChatGPT. I'm like, yo, that person's not even active, man. Oh, and it's like, oh yeah, you're right, Coach D. That person's not active anymore. They used to play for such and such. You're absolutely right. But so why you gave me that information then? See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? You got to understand, you still have to use your intellect. So it's like, even if you don't know something, a fact or something, about whatever it is, even if you don't know, you got to have the reasoning capabilities. You got to be able to research things beyond just that tool so that you can fact check and then you learn, right? You learn in the process of doing that. This is how, and this is again from my experience, this is how I'm not going to say future proof your business, because that's a different type of, situation. Like, there's other things to future proof for business, but in a sense, kind of future proof it in a sense. It's like, it's hard. It's real hard for someone to take your knowledge away. And like I said, that would be like if you get amnesia, your knowledge didn't go away, you just forgot it, But it's not hard for someone to take a tool away, meaning it's not accessible to you no more. That's not hard to do. But it's real hard to take your knowledge away, right? It's hard to take your reasoning skills away, right? Your intellect, right? It's hard to do that. So if you keep those and you use the tools as tools, right? Then it's going to mean that you're going to be able to, at least in that sense, be able to run your business a lot further. All right. And you say, well, how do we make sure that we, are staying ahead of this? Right? How we're putting our knowledge first, right? That we're making sure we're expanding on the knowledge. I'll tell you how I do it. There ain't a day to go by I'm not Googling something. I promise you, man. Ain't a day to go by and Googling something. Like, I could be on Facebook and somebody say something, because y'all always saying something. On Twitter, they always saying some shit, right? Somebody gonna have funny videos saying this right here as if it's the truth, and it may or may not be, right? And I mean about stuff that ain't even got nothing to do with business. Because you probably thinking that the only way that you're going to learn something, as far as like that's going to help you in your business, is to learn something about the business. I'm going to tell you that's false, and here's how I can prove it. Learning doesn't just happen in a vessel. It's not just happening like you learn something here and then you're done learning. You know what I'm saying? I learned something about marketing and I'm done learning. No. You can learn something about anything. You can learn something about life. You can learn something about religion. You can learn something about politics. You can learn something about absolutely anything. And what's happening is, because we're using our intellect, right? You're kind of like sharpening your skills, sharpening your research skills, sharpening your reasoning skills, right? Then now you're sharper for it. And now when you do start learning things for, business, it's just sharper for you. You see what I'm saying? So it's not just, learning something about business. I learn stuff all the time. I'll tell you one thing that I didn't think about something today. It was something in my business. I hadn't thought about it. Now, it was mentioned to me before previously, with another person I used to deal with or whatever, but I just hadn't thought about it. So another thing that I could do in my business is like, and this is for my recycling business, right? So what I do in my recycling business is I buy cars that people don't want to fix up anymore. They're called junk cars. Like a person's like, man, I done bought me a new car. I'm gonna get rid of this thing. It's in my way, whatever, boom. So one of the tow drivers I had, picking it up for me. I said, pick this up, you know what I'm saying, and drop it off for me. So okay, so he picks it up. He says, "Hey," he calls me. Says, "Hey, D." I said, "What's going on?" He says, I could use these tires, from the car or whatever. Guess he had something that I'm saying he needed the tires for, whatever. I'm like, all right, cool. I was like, do you have some other ones to put on there? As long as it's not just a vehicle that's rolling around with no tires on it. He's like, yeah. He was like, what did you charge me? So we agreed on a number or whatever, and he, sent me the money for it. Now, I hadn't previously thought about it in a while because, like I said, someone that had mentioned this to me some years back or whatever. Um, basically, you know what I'm saying? Because when you recycle a car, you can recycle different parts of the car, right? I have my own way of doing it. Everybody does their thing differently or whatever. I go the route of less effort, less physical effort, right? I rather use my brain more so, and that doesn't mean nobody else is using their brain. I'm just saying I'm brain over brawn all day, right? Because I don't want to be out there sweating all damn day, doing these different things to a car like I used to do, right? So it's like, that's something again that I guess I relearned. Like this is another avenue of income stream, and that isn't taking me any extra time. It's just thinking about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, now I can pay attention to if I buy something, I'm saying, that I'm going to scrap before I scrap it. Hey, maybe this person might need this, and that can, add up to an extra, little income. Let me take the word little back because that's fucking incorrect. I don't believe any income is little. So let me strike that shit from the record. Income is income. I don't care if it's a penny. Income is income, and I appreciate every last bit of it. So let me strike that. But it's like that's like thinking outside the box, right? Now somebody else will be like, oh yeah, that's obvious, da 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 da. People can say what the hell they want, right? But when you are in the practice of thinking differently, just thinking, period, right? Then it's easy. It's almost like things get attracted to you, man. It's almost like ideas get attracted to you, right? When you're using your brain, you're thinking about different things, even outside of your business. It seems like ideas, get attracted to you. And it's like, what about this? And you're like, huh, hadn't thought about that. Well, shit, let me write that on my list because that's a good one right there. That's something that makes sense to me, right? But it's like when we're in a state of mind of not thinking for ourselves and we're allowing the AI tools to do everything for us, then we're like slaves. You know what I'm saying? Like then they own us. The AI tools own you then. And then whoever owns the AI tool, because I, done told you how that stuff go from my perspective. Okay, this is my thought process, right? Then whoever owns the AI tool owns you because the AI tool owns you, right? So that owner of the AI tool owns you by extension, right? They have you at their mercy is what I mean by they own you. They have you at their mercy, right? Because now you're relying on it, right? And so the main thing that you want to do is as you build your business, you want to keep on learning. You want to keep on tweaking things, right? Even if it's like you have a process one way, you want to tweak it. I've done that in my business. I've tweaked things like, this seems like a good idea. Let me try this out. See how that works. See if that helps the process. I'll give an example of something that I tweaked and it worked. And not every tweak is gonna work. Some may work, but it may not work immediately. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But it's about thinking. So I'm gonna tell you a recent tweak that I made, probably like probably in the last maybe 6 months. Yeah, probably about the last, maybe about 5 months. Yeah, probably about 5 months. I tweaked this process, right? So when a person hits me up, if they, depending upon how they hit me up, they hit me up through our quote system and they request to be text back Most people request to be texted back a quote because they might be at work or something or whatever. You know what I mean? So I do a lot of, texting to them. So what I start, what I the first what I used to do is like I'll text them back, hey, this is the quote, whatever, blah blah blah, and what we give, for the vehicle, you know what I'm saying? Just reach back out with your address so we can set you up with a time, right? And leave it at that, and then they'll either respond or not respond, whatever they want to do. So I started switching. Instead of saying reach out, I still say reach out, with your address and set you up with a time, but I added a part to it. I'll say we'll set you up with a time as early as today. I just added that line, as early as today. I just added that. Right now, of course, that's depending upon when they're actually getting a quote and if I still have some same day appointments available, because I don't always, have them. But if I do, I say as early as today. And I'm going to tell you what wound up happening, bro. I'm going to tell you, like, for real. What wound up happening is I started getting more conversions. And you say, and a person could say, well, how do you know it was due to that? For one, you listen to your customers and everything, right? Once they're like, okay, yes, because I needed this gone today. There people are in a position where they needed it gone today because it might, like if they live in a complex, apartment complex, they'll put a sticker, like those apartment complexes will put a sticker on your junk and be like, yo, if you don't get this moved by XYZ date and time, we're going to take it. And now you're going to have to pay us type deal, right? They'll put those green stickers, yellow stickers, orange stickers, right? That's one reason, that it might need to be moved quickly, or the person might be about to go out of town, so they need to get it handled, or they're about to move. It's not a sticker or anything, but their lease is up. They're about to move. They're like, yo, I need to get this gone. Or I don't have customers reach out to me. They needed it going quickly because is the weekend is coming and they're about to have their family come over and they're going to need all them parking spots, right? So they're like, yo, that thing got to go. We ain't fixing that thing. It got to go. It got to go. Right. So when people were giving me feedback like that, like, oh, okay, even down to, check me out, even down to, a person may say, okay, well, such and such said they give me XYZ. Let's say I say one number, right? And they say, oh, well, such and such said they give me XYZ. I always say the same thing. Oh, that's awesome. I would go with that if I were you, right? I don't do this. This ain't no auction, right? And and I feel like if I give you a number and then if I come back and give you a way higher number, it's like what I was trying to scam you the first time, what I was trying to play in your face the first time. I would say like, yo, what's going on with that? Like, that's not even trustworthy. That's just me, my opinion, and it's also my character. Character meaning I don't like it, so I don't roll that way. Okay, so anyway. So I tell a person, oh, that's cool, that's definitely, I'm saying, go with that. They're like, yeah, but they can't come, until Monday. Oh, I definitely understand. And I need it gone today. So I'm going to go with you. Point is, I didn't have to be what would be equivalent of being the cheapest, right? I didn't have to be the cheapest. Like, let's say if you have a service out there, plumber or something, whatever you guys do, right? You don't have to be the cheapest, right? So all I did was, I said, as early as today, I was hitting the pain point of availability, right? So my point is, I was tweaking something. Even though I've been doing this business for some years, right? I never thought about that tweak before all them damn years. All them years. I never thought about that. So I thought about it and I said, okay, let me make that tweak. Let me make that tweak. And that tweak makes me more money because of it, right? But if I was in the habit of letting something else always do the thinking for me and I'm never trying to be creative, I'm never using my creative juices, right? Then I might not have even come up with that tweak because I wouldn't be in the habit of it. I wouldn't be in the habit of thinking for myself. I wouldn't be in the habit of using my creativity. I would be in the habit of just using the AI tools until, if the AI tools didn't tell me XYZ, then I'm not going to think about nothing else because the AI tool didn't say that, right? So that's what I wanted to bring to you guys today, because like I said, it's just something that I went through and I said, man, I know a lot of times if I go through stuff, other people probably go through stuff too. So hopefully you found some value with this week's marketing mastermind with Coach D. All right. And if you have, you definitely want to hop inside our Facebook group. You'll be able to tap into live weekly trainings, smart marketing tips, and real support to help you grow your business. All you got to do is tap the first link in the description and you can join us. And don't forget, if this is your first time on the channel, go ahead, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell, baby, so you can be alerted the next time we come up with some content, because we definitely bring it to you every single week. Other than that, you already know, I'll see you on the inside.